always tell people, like, if you're experiencing certain things or certain, like, you know, personal crises, just take a minute.
Yeah.
I know we're all like, okay, it's fine, gotta go. Your brain is just one component of it.
Yeah.
When your body is like, I don't want to work with your brain anymore, that's scary, because that's just like, I'm borderline paralyzed. Like, what just happened? You don't think theory. Let's just talk true facts. You don't think theories when you're thrown into this mess. And that's what it is. It's a mess. Like, I didn't realize until, again, I got like very much embedded in it when I realized all the things. It's not a TV show. All the things that come into a patient's admission. It's not clean at all.
It's not at all. Welcome back, everybody. This is the All of You podcast, the podcast where we sit down with all of you. And today we are extending the olive branch to a longtime soul sister. I don't really know how to describe how much I love you, because it's like a longtime thing. And Shannon Needham, everybody, is on the All of You podcast set with me today. Another Shannon. Yes, there's so many Shannons. I know so many Shannons. And I'm so happy to say that you are one of those Shannons in my life. Welcome to the podcast, Shannon.
Thank you for having me, Shannon.
Yeah. So Shannon, can you tell the audience how we came to know each other? How do we know each other?
That's so funny. So let's take it back to undergrad.
What year was that?
I think it was 2016.
I think so. Yeah. 2016. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was a part of Laurie's new program, their new BSW stream. So we were kind of year one of them going through. They've always had that MSW program, but they started the BSW stream. So they had
BSW, for those of you who don't know, is Bachelor of Social Work.
Oh, yes. Yes. So they were slowly building kind of their affiliations for students to complete their placements. Because my program was in Brantford, a lot of the affiliations were out there. I live in the city, so
in the city in Toronto. She's a Toronto girl.
I am a Toronto girl through and through. So to, you know, make that commute 3 to 5 days a week was a little bit challenging.
Yeah.
So they told us don't reach out. I'm like, I'm not going to reach out and say I'm a student of Laurier, but I did hear that one of my fellow classmates did secure a position. I don't know what the exact title was, but it was at UHN at Toronto Western with the mental health department. So I was like, how did you get that? You don't even live in Toronto. I was like, what? So then I started doing a little digging of my own, and I started kind of sending generic emails around just to see who still has affiliations with Laurier. Didn't say I was a student, just said, just curious to know if you're still maintaining that relationship. When is that contract ending? ... And lo and behold, I can't remember her name. That was like the educator. Starts with a B. I think it was Bridget. Was there a person named Bridget there?
Yeah, Bridget. Yes. Yeah. Bridget. Very good.
Perfect. Yes.
Hot memory. Very good.
She responded and she said, you know what? Like, yeah, we still have an affiliation with Laurier until the end of the year. And as a matter of fact, I think I know someone in the discharge planning who might be looking to take on a student.
Yes.
Her name is Shannon. I was like, it was meant to be.
Because it's a Shannon thing.
Right? That's a whole other podcast.
That's a whole other
Should have worn my t-shirt.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
But yeah, so I think I don't even remember actually I do remember our interview. We met outside of the Starbucks on the main floor.
Yeah, we did.
We did, because you're a very busy woman.
Had a supervisor that came and did a field visit, and we like had a meeting in one of the patient alcove area things.
Probably.
So to clarify, everyone, part of the reason why Shannon is on this podcast is because we sit down and talk to people about their professional development and their career and their education and like the things that influences you to make, take risks in your career and stuff. And so Shannon came to UHN. I was working there in the discharge planning patient flow department. And you came in doing your Bachelor of Social Work, and you did how long of a placement was it?
I think it was
8
for
months?
Yeah.
It was fall and winter semester, if I remember correctly. And so tell me, had you worked in a hospital before you came to do your placement there?
No. So when I was looking to get in the field of social work, I think my first goal was to, maybe go with Children's Aid because my mother was a foster parent. I always thought, yeah, I want to go to Children's Aid. But in the back of my mind, I always wanted to go clinical. I always wanted to be in healthcare.
Yeah.
So when I heard that my friend had that opportunity, I'm like, that's a perfect way to just segue. Because like, let's be honest, even though you have the degree and the credentials, it's all about who you know, right?
Yeah.
So
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, no, truly though, because, and I'll get to that later of like how I made some connections during that placement, but I kind of lucked out because technically you're a discharge resource specialist.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I could do my BSW there. Generally, Master of Social Work students, MSWs, those are the only social workers who can do placements in clinical environments under social workers. So I kind of found the loophole, was just like,
did the same thing.
Yeah, right.
Too. I totally did. That's awesome. Yeah. So if you hadn't ever worked in a hospital before and then you came into hospital, what were some of the things early on? Like if you think back to those first days of dipping your toe in the hospital system, what do you reflect on from your experience then, looking back on it now?
I don't even know how to answer that.
Is it like night and day? Do you feel like rose-colored glasses have been lifted?
I think working in healthcare, there's always a curve being thrown. So I think my impression of what it was in the beginning was kind of like, you go in and you help people and you have kind of a structured schedule. And, like it's not chaos all the time.
It's always chaos.
You think something, I had just kind of a different idea of what it would be because you don't see things like, or professions like social worker being advertised in certain, really. Grey's Anatomy, or I think there's one program that might have a social worker who comes in here and there, but it's not really depicted as much as you see nurses or doctors and anything like that. So I think my thoughts were, organized chaos. Well, now that's how it is right now, but more like structured.
Yeah.
And you just go from this patient and this patient, you have an idea, and it wasn't like that. I know that, you being in the position that you're in was great because you knew all of the social workers. So
remember the little desk you had?
Yeah. The little makeshift desk in the corner was like this
because
thin.
There's no space in a hospital. Like the office we were in wasn't even an office.
The office that you guys were in was in a triangle. It was very weird. And so
it was
the social worker, the ER social worker, I can't remember his name. He was like almost at the point, and there's just like this sliver. I'm like, well, if we have a desk about this big. How many
of us were there? Like
4
or 5 of us in that office at any given time?
Yeah.
Oh my God. It was like a closet.
Social worker's life.
Yes.
And you had that space because some of the other social workers I was with, I'm like, so where do we go to document? They're like, I don't know, find a vacant area and just go. So that was also interesting. I was like, okay.
Yeah. I always think back to those, when I got my first job at Toronto Western Hospital. I remember walking by there before I got my employee badge, like just thinking, oh my God,
yes,
like, I've made it. My career is like, I just had the hospital sector on this pedestal. Mm-hmm. And when you get into it, you very quickly realize like the flaming hoops of fire that you have to jump through to get things accomplished. Yeah. And anyway, so Bachelor of Social Work, finished your placement with me. Our placement experience ended abruptly because my dad died. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
My dad died and I pissed off to Thailand.
Yeah.
At the end of your placement. So like,
I brought you wine and treats.
Sorry. And then I came back and that was a time.
That was a rough year though too, because my brother had died earlier and I was like, hey, I only get 2 days off for the whole year. The students only had 2 days that they could call in sick. And my brother had passed suddenly.
100 days.
That's basically what she did. She's like, girl, you do a lot. You work, like, don't worry about the hours.
Don't worry about the hours.
Like, just leave.
Sorry to anybody who I was ever I've been placement supervisor. I've been a field placement coordinator. Like, the hours don't mean a thing if the person performs well and they deliver well. Like, we need to stop being so strict about writing these stupid timesheets and like, oh my gosh, it's make work. Yeah. It's make work. So you finished the BSW and now you have 2 master's degrees?
I do.
Oh my God. Okay. So in the time that we've known each other, you've achieved a bachelor's degree and 2 master's degrees. So bring us up to speed now on what your 2 master's degrees are.
I know. So, So towards the end of the bachelor degree, a lot of people are either like, do I want to continue and do the master's, or do I just want to, maybe do more community work with the bachelor's? But because I had that goal of working clinical in a hospital, I'm like, I have to get it. And towards the end of that placement, because I was running around and I got to do a little bit more, I don't want to say than you did, but there's certain things I could do that you couldn't do because it was kind of like a conflict, and maybe, upper supervision thought that. Do you remember that?
Yes. Well, you were able to push the boundaries in conversations differently than I was, because I was always very like, because the leaders, call the shots, and anyways,
and you can't do this and you can't do that. I'm like, but I can. Especially when I act like, okay, like I'm just a student, so my thoughts are, and then just kind of put it out there and just kind of say it and just wait for it.
And people would be like, you asked, like, she asked that. Yeah.
I did. But they were the appropriate questions. Yes. And so somewhere by the time I was at the end of my placement, because I remember that year, a lot of the social workers, I remember you guys had like to get even a social work job in healthcare was impossible. You'd see like one position out of all the hospitals, and you could see that 2,000 people viewed that position. So it was really, really hard. And I remember at UHN, everyone was there, but there was a part sometime during that year when all of a sudden this person was sick or that person, like you guys lost like a handful of social workers in a short period of time, and everyone was scrambling. And so at the end of that placement, the practice lead, I think it was Rosemary or something, she's just like, oh, so we have this vacancy, and like, you're done school. Do you want to just walk into it? I'm like, I think you're all forgetting I'm still an undergrad. Like I'm not. And they're like, what? And everyone's like, oh no. So I'm just like, yeah, I just have to go get that master's and then come on back. And this is the part of making connections. She's like, when you're done,
come back,
call me, apply, and we'll see what we can do. Because with Shannon and knowing the other Shannon and knowing all of the social workers, everyone was nice enough to let me kind of shadow them. So I got to shadow, vascular, transplant, just all
doing rounds and
different kinds of areas of medical care. And so at that point, I was like, okay, I want to get my master's, but UFT was like the affiliation. Everyone had every hospital has the affiliation with UFT, but it's exceptionally competitive,
very competitive
on a good day. And because I would have been transferring advanced standing, which if you have your undergrad in social work, you get to skip the first year. It's a 2-year program, but you get to skip the first year and go into the second.
Did I write your reference letter for that?
Probably.
Yeah, I think I did.
Yeah.
I bet you I can find it. I bet you I have it.
I might want to frame that. You probably did, because oh yes, you definitely did.
Yeah, I think
because it was you and my other colleague, and everyone was having a crisis, and my letters were coming in like on the cusp. But luckily UFT was just like, and I was also in crisis. My brother, we were all in crisis, and UFT's like, okay, don't worry. Like, I'm going to social work. Like, please have a heart. Yay. And they did. They did. So, but no, you definitely wrote me a sweet letter. But yeah, so for the advanced standing, there was even less of a pool because they already have their first group going in year 1, who's also going to be year 2. So they could only let,
Did you have to choose a specific stream?
You did.
What was the stream you chose?
Health and mental health, which was the most
I remember that.
sought out stream. Yes. There's 5. I think there might even be 6 now, but it went that one, then children and families, and gerontology. But everyone wanted health and mental health because I feel like at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It kind of depends on like what your skill set is or just how you perform. But everyone wanted health and mental health because you could expand it on so many.
Yes. It touches so many facets of human experience. Yeah.
And so I just told myself, if I finish, like if they accept me, okay, I'm going to try and suck it up and squeeze out one more year. Cause again, as an adult going back to school in their 30s, and working in the city
when you went back.
Yeah. And we're living in Toronto and having like 20 million jobs, burnout. I was just like, if I take that,
oh my God, you worked at Liza's salon.
I did.
Too.
So this is
holy shit! Oh my God,
that's how I got the job.
How I got you that job too.
It's great having allies. See, it's all about who you know though too,
and that's why you're here on this podcast right now. Because you owe me.
I do. Because I think I came back for another reference when I got hired. I was like, hey, Shannon.
I'm just kidding. You don't
I need another favor.
Okay. So you finished the MSW. Did you contact UHN? Did you get back in there like they said?
Yeah. So my MSW, that was a whirlwind. no, sorry, my brother got sick with you. He died during my MSW. That's what happened. So I was a little tired afterwards. I gave myself a little bit of
tired.
A little tired, a little burnt out.
Yeah.
The trauma, the 10,000 jobs, I finished it a little bit sooner. It's an 11-month program. I finished it in 7 because I didn't want to take one class in the summer. So I found a weekend crash course in the first semester and did 4 courses.
You're nuts. Oh my.
I actually got A's though that semester. I was like, this is like my best semester.
This is so trauma.
Autopilot.
This is the definition of somebody just autopilot on trauma, adrenaline.
Literally writing papers, watching my palliative brother. So, so I finished. I gave myself, I'm like, I can't, because I jumped straight into the undergrad, even the advanced standings who went at U of T, some people took some time off. I won't say the smart people, because if you didn't take the acceptance letter for U of T when they gave it to you, they didn't have an offer to defer the acceptance. Like, it's either you take it now or you reapply next year and
some
hope.
of them have 2-year deferrals.
Oh yeah, there was none. It's like you take it or leave it. So even if you didn't get accepted for health and mental health, if you say, okay, well, can I apply for gerontology? So sought after,
right? They're like, if you're not taking it seriously, then see you later.
Like, then you can reapply and spend another $200 on your application next year.
Jeez,
so I dove into it, tired, don't remember most of the year, cranked it out.
What a crazy experience to be going through, to have that be your focus of study. Mental health. And,
and I remember in one of my advanced health classes, the subject for that, it was like 2 days after he passed, because like I didn't have time to take off, and we were talking about like palliative and like dying, and I'm like sitting there like, and like the table seating happened to be in a U that day, and so I'm just sitting there and I'm like, it's fine. And I'm like, excuse me. And I go to the washroom, and I was like in the stall, and I could see some girl like looking at me from across the table, and I go in the stall, I'm like, just breathe it out. You don't have time. You have all these assignments that you have to do. You got to go to work after class. And so I hear her slowly washing her hands for like 5 minutes, and finally I'm like, okay, I'm just going to come out. And I just see her looking at me, and I'm like, and then she did it. She's like, are you okay? I was like, I'm not okay.
That's
had a complete mental breakdown in the washroom.
Okay, and it's like,
And she's like, no, let it out. And I just explained to her, I'm like, not the subject that I needed to come in off of the weekend. And she's like, it's okay. And I was just like, I know, but like, it's Tuesday, and I need to have this mental break at like Friday at like 6 p.m.
I can't have this mental break right now.
I just got to like hold it in. She's like, I schedule in my mental breaks too. And I was like, I felt so seen. I was like, really? And I'm like, maybe it's like a social work, like helping people thing. But so like that shot by. That year was just a whirlwind. I took 6 months off. I was like, I just need to like declutter my brain, because too many things were going on in that short period of time. And then when I went to go apply again, one position here, maybe one there. I'm seeing like 2,500 people are viewing this position. I'm like, I'm never going to get it. So I applied.
How were you applying? Through the UHN website?
Yeah, you had to apply through the portal. So I applied, and then I went to go call, I think it was Rosemary, just to say, hey, I did what you told me to.
Yeah.
But of course, when I called and I couldn't find her, they're like, she's on a like leave this year. And I was like, no. And I don't think you were working there anymore. I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I tried to connect with Bridget, but I think that she actually emailed me on her own saying, hey, we started this new transplant resource specialist position. You'd be great at it. And I was like, great, because I need a job. This was like the first time in my life. I was very excited because I gave her my resume. She's like, oh, you went and got your master's. I'm like, of course, I want to work in a hospital. She's like, you're overqualified. I'm like, what? She's like, this is an SSW or BSW max. I'm like, do you know how long I've had my SSW, which is social service work diploma? I had it for years, and I couldn't get a job anywhere close to healthcare. You know what I mean? And I'm like, of course this would happen. So I'm like, no, I'm like, please, I'll take it. I'll take whatever you're going to pay me. Like, I just want a job. She's like, no, like you're overqualified. I was like, I never thought I'd hear those words in my life. So I didn't get it. And then I think maybe like another 6 months went by, and I was applying to UHN, applying. So I'm like, at this point, I'm like, she must be back. Like, I just need to flag her.
Rosemary,
a different hospital contacted me. At that point, I hadn't worked in a clinical environment in like a year. So I was like, okay. Haven't interviewed in even longer, because all my other jobs, like my, part-time jobs were just
medicine, or what was it for?
Medical rehab.
Oh, medical rehab.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my placement afterwards, when I was doing my MSW, it primarily focused on mental health. It was like a crisis unit.
Yeah.
So all these very different.
So tell the audience like what now that, because remember when she came in, she was like, I thought that the role was really structured, and that you just went from patient to patient, and that you had, a team of people, blah, blah, blah. So like, now your perspective of what your day to day is as a social worker, because you've been in a couple of hospitals now. Like, describe the average day in the life of a social worker.
Dumpster fire. That's what it is. That's what it is.
I love that you led with that. Oh,
I don't know how else to explain it, because even when my friends ask me, like, what do you do? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, it changes
every day.
You can literally, when I started my most like recent position, and because I'd been out of the clinical loop for like, a year, so I was kind of like, okay, so I'm going to tackle this like this. I'm going to make my list. I'm going to check it off. And all the social workers are like, that's so cute. Bless your heart. Like, good for you for making that list. You can take that list and it's just like, just scramble a little bit. But they're like, you're probably not going to tackle everything. I'm like, no, I got this. Ugh. Week 1, first of all, I didn't even know how to use their like electronic, like, patient record system. I was just like,
EHR, yeah.
What? Like, I was just sitting there staring at my screen. I remember the pharmacist walked by. I was just like, I think Shannon's broken, and called the other social worker who took over, like, may want to check on her. I'm like, I just don't even know where to go, because at UHN, you guys were still doing paper documentation.
Yeah.
Wild. And then at the other,
that's so long ago.
Yeah. And then at my other placement, it was Clinical Sunrise. This one is Meditech. Like, all the, like, it's not the same, right?
No,
and so I didn't know where to find my information. I didn't know what I was doing, because I'm like, social work, transferable skills, which is true, but going from medical to mental health, then to like medical rehab, like, it's all different.
It's very different. I tell my students this every semester. Like, it's not going to matter what I teach you in class, because every place that you work is going to be doing it in a different way.
Even internally, like, even if you're like, oh, I see a contract on a different unit, I'm going to take that. It's still different. Like,
yeah, like,
it's still different.
Across the hospital, you're all doing things differently.
Yeah.
I mean, with the same goal in mind.
Yeah.
But all getting there in a different way.
Yeah. Even like just the resources, right? Like, sometimes when I have to maybe shift over to an acquired brain injury unit, it's very different on how I'm social working per se.
Right. And the services and supports that you can offer to a patient.
Yeah.
Like,
and how I'm navigating that.
Yeah.
And just even how navigating with the patient and their families, it's just different.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain it unless you're doing it, where it's just like, it's not linear.
I dealt with an acquired brain injury patient early on in my career too. He was a young guy who had an ABI from a boxing accident. He was a really successful boxer, young guy. Anyway, he developed like major physical aggression, where he was like gonna kill you if he got into a fit of rage. Like, one of my first trauma experiences was him jumping out of his wheelchair, climbing over the nurse's station, and the nurses locking themselves in the med room to try to get away from him. And us having to call the police to get him, like,
Sounds about right.
Wild.
Yeah.
Anyways, I don't know why I talked about that. But anyways, so yeah, the day in the life of a social worker. So again, it's not organized or structured at all, is it?
No, you can't. I mean, maybe the first 5 minutes of your day, and then you get a phone call, and it could be anything. It could be like, hey, this new admission, it's priority. Hey, this patient has a bed offer from long-term care, which takes priority of your day, because those offers are like 24 hours, like, make that choice. It could be anything, or this random emergency, discharge, maybe for even subsidized housing. Sometimes patients will get that offer letter, and they want that information back within 24, 40 hours. So like, you can have that list, but maybe that list will get done in like a couple weeks, a month, perhaps.
And from a theory of social work perspective, when we're talking about the different theories that you learned about in all of your years of academia, how often do you actually get to apply like real social work theory to the relationship and developing therapeutic rapport with your patients?
Let me break that down. The theory or the therapeutic rapport? Because those are, even that is like a bit of a split.
Do you feel like you're ever like, I'm going to apply strengths-based theory? Like,
goodness.
do you ever feel...
You don't think theory. Let's just talk true facts. You don't think theories when you're thrown into this mess. And that's what it is. It's a mess. Like, I didn't realize until, again, I got like very much embedded in it when I realized all the things... It's not a TV show. All the things that come into a patient's admission, it's not clean at all.
It's not at all.
So those theories, no, not so much. I'm not thinking about theories. They usually blow out of my head until, maybe there's some sort of like, why did you do this? And then
because of this.
I'll throw in a theory, but it's usually another healthcare discipline,
or maybe
that you throw
patient,
that into.
Or maybe
patient-centered care.
Yeah, patient-centered care. Or you're in a family meeting and you'll use some kind of
my active listening is, yeah, exactly. So I'm not thinking.
So how often do you get to actually build therapeutic rapport with a patient, do you feel?
I mean, that's a hard one too, because I feel that I do sometimes, depending on the intensity of the caseload.
Yeah.
You don't get to, like, you want to sit down and maybe like the patient will say something like, I want to take a deeper dive into that. But because
the time is of
the
the
timeline
essence,
and having 30 plus patients, it's very hard to sit there and give up an hour and a half of your day to one.
Would you say that there's a skill in being able to get somebody to trust you in a short period of time? Do you know, as a social worker, like, you have to really be able to create that human experience with somebody when you're under that pressure? And
yeah, for me, I mean, I kind of social work with style.
Good.
I'm not, so I think social work, any job, but social work, you have to have that balance of book smarts and street smarts.
Yeah.
So when I have certain patients where they're like, oh, they're sensitive to this, or don't say that, or don't breathe this way, or they're very difficult. I'm like, difficult?
I'll take that one.
No problem.
Easy peasy.
I'm the one who goes in and will have that, like, because I'm not coming in like, okay, so I'll be like, what's up? What's going on? What's going on? I hear you're giving so-and-so a hard time. What is it?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, this, that, and the other, and I'm not getting this. I'm like, yep.
But don't you think that's more human than following the checklist?
That's what I mean. Yeah. Like, you have to know your audience, essentially.
Read the room.
Because you're not going to say that. I have this patient who people find them challenging because they're not really following direction. There are some impairments, but I think for that patient, it's more so the personality. So I'm like, no, like, you just go in and say, you're doing this. This is how it's getting done. No, I'm going to do that. No, we're doing this and this is why. I'm like, break it down, be like, change your tone and be assertive. They don't understand, like, it will go around in a circular motion for, like, you will spend half an hour trying to convince this person, hey, we gotta walk around, do the lap, so that you can get stronger, so you can get out of here, because you keep saying you want to get out of here, but you're not strong enough.
Yeah. I'm
like, no, you just go in and say it like this. 5 seconds later, that patient's laughing, giving me a high five, no problem. But if someone walks by that room, they're like, why is she getting so mad? I'm like, no, that's just the dynamic for that particular patient.
Yeah. You want to know one of my most favorite things to say to a patient that's considered difficult? Like, after we've just had, like, meetings and conversations and we've de-escalated the situation and we've all, come to the conclusion of whatever, I'll say, okay, this was good. We're all good. I hope I never see you again.
Yep.
Because I hope I never have to see you again. Like, we've resolved this. If I see you again, it means that something else crappy has happened to you. And going back to, like, read the room, it's, people want to be talked to like humans. They don't want to be talked to like you're a robot. They don't want to be talked to like you're reading out of a textbook. Like, the human, connecting with somebody like they're not a diagnosis or a room number, very important in clinical work.
Yeah. Which you would think is common sense, but it's not. Someone told me that common sense is a swear word. It's just not.
I love that.
And especially with specific healthcare disciplines, there's sometimes you're like, whoa, don't go speak to them before I speak to them first.
Right.
Let me prep.
Will you say which discipline?
I mean,
which discipline is more inclined to be detached from the human?
Oh, let's just say it. It's the doctors.
Yeah, the doctors.
It's the doctors, because
no beef with the doctors. Okay. I'm sure there are some doctors out there that are so good with bedside manner, but on average,
they're busy. You know what I mean? Like, they really don't have the time. They're there to just A, B, C, D. The nurses are there to help transition A, B, C, D. Everyone else is there to kind of support. Social workers are there in case they have any complaints. And a lot of doctors do give, but like, healthcare has a shortage of resources. Like, there's sometimes where I'm like, why is there just one of you? I'll see a doctor there for 12 hours on on a 9 to 5 type of, that's how that's supposed to be, like,
so
that
they almost
shift.
Have to be robotic just to get through.
Sometimes, because when the patients start talking, or even with me, they'll start talking, maybe they have wound care. I'm like, and I'll listen, but I'm like, that's not,
we don't need to talk about that now.
Let me find someone who, I need to get to this point. Like, what support do you have going back in the community? Because, you're going to need all of this stuff. So yeah, it's kind of hard, but I want to say, like, probably with the doctors, I think a lot of people would agree. Sometimes they're just in and out.
Yeah. And it's, the patient puts so much weight on that conversation that they have with the doctor, right? Because like, they might only see the doctor every couple of days.
Yeah.
the doctor is checking in and they're doing rounds, and we talk about them in rounds every day, but like the patient might be waiting specifically to hear from the doctor, or they'll only want to hear information from the doctor.
That's the other thing.
And it's like, well, I'm telling you exactly what the doctor will tell you. So like you can wait for the doctor, but they're just going to tell you the exact same thing. But there's some weird like merit attached to the doctor telling them something. And
I'll have doctors come in and literally say, I'll say, this is what I've explained. They're like, exactly what she said. And they'll say, thank you, after 3 days of like getting irate over it.
Or the worst thing is when the doctor tells them something incorrect, and then you have to undo what the doctor did.
Yeah. And that's usually when they'll say, hey, social work, can you go and talk to the patient about X, Y, Z, because they're upset about
because maybe the EMS driver told them on the way to the hospital that they couldn't go home. And then they get it in their head, and then the EMS and the doctor and the emerge are like, oh yeah, you can't go home. And then for their entire admission, they'll be fixated. Well, they said the EMS driver and the doctor and the emerge said that I couldn't go home, so I can't go home.
I've had teams tell patients that you're going to go here and you're going to walk. And then I get to the patient and I review their chart. I'm like, and they're like, I'm not leaving here until I walk. I was like, well, no, like it's a program. Like you'll be discharged at this point. We're trying to get you as close to, your baseline as possible. But I'll read the chart and I'm like, sir, like you haven't walked in 15 years. Like, who told you this? Who told you this? You know what I mean? But then they get mad at the teams because they're just like, and you're like, okay, damage control.
I want to talk to the doctor. And
then the doctor's like, no, like who told you this? And sometimes the doctor will tag team. They're like, hey, Shannon, do you mind?
Can we go in and have this conversation together so you can be like the in-between person?
Exactly.
Yeah, been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. Speaking of t-shirt.
Yes.
We have a shared t-shirt.
We do.
Oh my gosh. So
I know where mine is.
Well, I do too.
So it's ready to go.
I should have put it on. I should have worn it today.
I know.
Crap.
I was thinking about that.
Missed
afterwards.
opportunity. Anyway, I don't remember if it was your birthday. I don't remember if it was like coming to the end of the placement and we like got together for drink. I don't know, something. I got you a t-shirt. And
it was
had
Christmas.
Oh, Christmas.
Yes,
Christmas. Anyway, we have matching t-shirts that say it's a Shannon thing.
You wouldn't understand.
You wouldn't understand.
Because that was a hard year for both of us and things just kept happening. And that was the slogan. It's just like, I guess it's just a Shannon thing. Like you just wouldn't understand.
Because the things that were happening to us were similar.
Yeah, it was parallel.
Yeah. So I think that our relationship is one of those friendships that you can go like time and space and relationships and death, whatever can pass. And then when you come back together with that person, it's like, oh my God, how are you? But pick right back up where you left off, like download onto me all of the death that you've experienced and all of the trauma you've experienced. And that's kind of what happened to us late last year. You invited me to go see the Beach Boys.
I did.
Oh my God. So like, I'm assuming that you saw on social media, like, oh, she's going through a hard time. I'm just going to reach out to her.
Yeah. Well, I always creep your socials. Like, even when you moved to this, like, glorious place, I was like, wow, like, like, you send messages here and there.
Yeah, we've always been within each other's radar and reach. And every year or so, it's like, oh my God, I don't know, we should get together. And then time
flies when you're getting older. And you're just like, yeah, we just talked. I'm like, no, that was like 3 years ago.
Yeah, shit.
Yeah. But so I was just kind of like, I think... I remember I threw it out there because I was going to invite you to a different concert. Like, she probably wouldn't want to go. She lives so far away. She probably wouldn't. I know. I see it, and I felt so bad when I walked in today. I was just like,
oh my God.
And then I sent that message being like, you probably wouldn't, but then you're like, yes, I would.
Are you kidding?
I think you need to come out anyways. I think this is like, I think we all just need to come out and do a little adventure in Niagara.
And we had a great old time at the Beach Boys. It was so, so great. And so when we came back together after not having seen each other for a hot minute, we had both discovered that we had also both just had a fucking Shannon time of a decade with a whole bunch of other crap that went
the trauma didn't discontinue because we stopped working together.
Yeah, it just
kept going in our parallel universes. Again, Shannon, Nelson, Shannon, Needham. It's just like a Shannon thing. Oh my
God. It's the Shannon thing through and through.
Yeah.
And so you experienced a pretty tremendous loss.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that? Not like the specific details, but like that turns your world upside down. I've been there. I've been through experiences that turn your world upside down.
There was like 3 losses that year. That hurt. That hurt a little bit. 3 in a row is a lot. It was a lot. So, my younger brother, I got news that he had passed in the early summer.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, lost a little bit of touch, but always, love there. And there was some struggles. And then months later, a week before my birthday, my partner had passed suddenly.
Young guy, right?
ran 5-10K every day. Like, you know what I mean? So that hurt. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And then my brother-in-law, who's like a brother to me, known him since I was 2, he was sick, but he'd been sick for a while. And then he started to go downhill. So that was within that same year. And then a couple months after that, a good friend. So it's just kind of like,
wow, that's too much.
I'm like, this is overload. Like, let's spread it out.
That's too much.
Yeah.
That's too much loss for one person to go through.
Yeah.
And I don't know that my losses were so close together. Like, I first experienced my grandfather's loss. That was horrible. Then my father's loss. Then my best friend's loss. Then Ashley Sheffield. Did you ever meet Ashley?
The name sounds very familiar.
She was one of my best friends. She was a social worker at
She have dark
Toronto
hair?
Western. Yeah, like brownish hair. She moved out to Nova Scotia.
I think
I went to her wedding.
Yeah.
She dropped dead at 26 weeks pregnant from an aortic aneurysm.
That's wild.
Yeah. Like, I had just been out to see her and she was just telling me she was pregnant. And then like a month later, she dropped dead. Sickening.
Yeah.
Ugh. And then my mom. And then my family exiled me.
Yeah.
Like, and you had a similar situation too.
Well, my mom passed my mother's other son, I like to call him. Sociopathic behavior just emerged and had to cut that off. And then 5 years later, my older brother, who I was closest to, and then it was always at the 5-year mark. I always say it's the Grey Cup. Every time the Argos get to the Grey Cup, somebody goes.
Oh.
So I'll listen on my socials like, oh no, every time they win. So yeah, I always get a little nervous when it comes.
There's some weird curse.
Yeah, every time it gets to that time of year, I'm like, oh gosh, like I want them to win, but I don't at the same time. But yeah, it was just a lot in a short period of time. So within like less like in a 10-year period, all those people gone.
That's nuts. And
4
I
in the
just
1
totally
year.
resonate with you because I've experienced the same. So can I ask you, like, how, because I didn't do it very well, but how did you keep your shit together going through all of this and still showing up and like still keeping your shit together for your patients and like not having, you know, attendance issues and shit like that? Like, I struggled so much. Every single one of those losses turned my life upside down and I struggled.
Yeah. No,
deeply.
I mean, it's one of those things where people are like, you're so resilient.
I hate
was just
that.
like, yo, I was like, so survival mode is supposed to be a temporary thing.
Not
I was
permanent.
in survival mode for years.
Yeah.
And I was telling you earlier, this is why my cortisol levels shot through the roof. I can't get my nervous system to settle, even though
Same.
it's like, you know, knock on wood, quiet-ish. It's very, very challenging. And at that time, the year that my partner had passed, I didn't have enough time. I only had so many sick days at work. So I tried to go back a little bit earlier. First day back, wasn't supposed to have any patients, get a call. Like, this person needs to go to this place. I don't know why they called me.
You were supposed to have like a graduated return to work, right? Like a modified return.
Yeah. And because I'm a hospital-wide social worker, I'm not sanctioned to one particular unit. That's why I was like, why is this unit calling me? But something had to be done. This patient was dying. If I didn't get it done, the family wouldn't see them. And I'm just like, okay. I'm like trying to call someone else to help, but like it was very time sensitive. So I sucked it up. I did it. I was like, this isn't a great day. Then I get an email that comes through. This is the new patient, which was the first middle name of my soulmate, my bestie. I was like, triggered.
Oh.
And then I was like, you know what? I think I'm just going to stick to the learning modules because every year we have to do these learning modules. And in the learning module, they were talking about like, not privacy. It's when there's like duplicate patient's name, whatever. And then they gave the example and the person's, for instance, my name is like first and last name. The last name was my partner's last name.
No.
And this last name isn't
common last name.
No, like you never hear this last name. And then I just sat there and I closed the computer. I'm like, I'm done.
I gotta go home.
I gotta go home.
Oh, my
but
God.
what was worse is that, and like we all do it. It's fine. I got it. I'm like, okay, no, it's not fine because at that point my body shut down. And that's when I was like, oh no.
I was getting sick, like physically sick.
I couldn't get out of bed.
Yeah.
And so I called my doctor. I was just like, I physically can't get up. I'm like, something is wrong. And I'm like trying to roll myself out of the bed. I had to crawl to the kitchen. I was like, oh no. And I was like, what happened? And my doctor's like, I told you. She goes, I told you, like you needed to. I'm like, yes, but I took almost 3 months off. I took 2.5 months off. Like I had to go back to work because if I'm living by myself now, like if I don't, I gotta be like, I gotta eat, I gotta pay bills. Like I have to go back to work. Like we don't have those luxuries in society to take the time that we need to, you know, move through the process to the point where it completely like debilitated me. Like I can't explain to you when I say I couldn't get out of bed. So when I did get out of bed to go to the washroom, I'd come back with like water and crackers and I just put them at my bedside table because that's all I could do is just reach over and put it in my mouth. And I was like, how do I fix this? How do I fix this? Like, give me something, give me a prescription. And she's just like, you don't. I told you.
The only way out is through.
She said like, you're depressed. I was like, no, I mean, obviously I'm like, it's a situational crisis. I'm like, anyone would be like upset in my position, but like, I got to get back to work. She goes, no, you're not listening to me, because I was looking at depression as a mental thing. I wasn't looking at a holistic lens.
Yeah.
She goes, physically, your body was literally giving you the signals and signs to slow down. Like, it's not time. And you didn't listen. She goes, so now your body's like, okay, screw you. You're done. And I was like, so then how long is it? She goes, again, enough with the timelines. I'm like, but
because you don't know. And now that you didn't give yourself time, is probably going to take you longer.
Yes. Like, I regressed terribly. And I had 3 weeks to try and like get my act together. It wasn't up until like maybe 4 days before I tried a medication that it wasn't perfect, but I could lift my head up. I could try and get into work. And this time I told my colleagues, I was like, no referrals. Yeah. Guys, I'll tell you when I'm ready, but like, this is impossible. I'm lucky I can get dressed today.
Yeah.
Which is wild because my brain is functioning. My brain's like, come on, girl. Like, you got to be here at this time. You got to do this. But like, my body, it was like moving through like quicksand. Like, I was just kind of like just sludging through like, it was really odd. So I always tell people, like, if you're experiencing certain things or certain like, personal crises, just take a minute.
Yeah.
I know we're all like, okay, it's fine. I got to go. I'm like,
don't try to rush through it. Don't try to rush through the pain. Don't try to rush through and think that you aren't healing fast enough or whatever. Like,
it's your brain is just one component of it.
Yeah.
When your body's is like, I don't want to work with your brain anymore. That's scary, because I was just like, I'm borderline paralyzed. Like, what just happened? How did I do this? How did I get here? Bad. Yeah.
Yeah. I totally, fully 1 billion % resonate with that, because I struggled immensely. And the other thing is like, when you have these series of horrible events that occur, and then you have, for me, it was my parents were both sick, and crisis after crisis after crisis would happen. So I would have to call in with a family crisis that I'd have to haul ass to London to be there for whatever, or whatever situation was happening, whatever brain cancer was happening at that time. And I started to feel this incredible guilt. Like, my colleagues were thinking that I was making shit up because there was so much crazy shit happening in my life.
Yeah.
It literally sounded like I was making it up, or at least I thought that people thought I was making it up.
I totally understand this, because that last year when all those, I started my second master's, I'll get into that later. And I just started it right after my younger brother had passed. And, my first semester, Rob had passed. The next semester, I think, was kind of quietish, but the semester after that was my brother-in-law. And then the next semester was my friend. And I was just like, every time I had to write that email to my teachers, I was just like, I need this week to deal with this, and this. I'll catch up, because it was an online program. I'm like, I'll catch up with the postings, because you need the participation marks for, your grades. But this happened, because I didn't tell them right away. Like, and they're like, you need to tell us about these things. Like, we are here for you. And they're like, Shannon, like, I was like, I don't even know that if you'll believe me when I say this, but this just happened again. But like, are you good?
This is how I was feeling. Like, you're not going to believe me. You're not going to believe me when I say this. And then some people, I felt like they did believe me. Other people, I felt like they didn't. And then it was an ongoing
Well, it's like struggle. When you see that person at work who's like, my grandma died. You're like, how many grandparents do you have? Didn't this happen already like 7 times? It felt like that.
Yeah. But it's true. Like, these things were really happening. And much like you, I was like, I should be over this by now, and I should be moving on from this by now. And like, my brain is not wired that way. I'm an incredibly sensitive person. Like, my heart and my mind aren't always connected, because my heart is so empathetic, and I feed off of energy, but also like, when I get stuck in a certain energy, I have such a hard time getting out of that energy. Much like you're saying, like, depression is a physiological thing. Same. Yeah. Same. Like, not being able to shower for days, and like, oh my God. Anyways. It's a Shannon thing.
It's a Shannon thing.
And we have a t-shirt, and we need to get a fresh t-shirt. I feel like we need an upgraded.
Well, I picked up that t-shirt. I was like, how did I ever fit in this? This wasn't that long ago. I thought, because like before when you got it, it was like it fitted nice, but it was a little bit loose. There's room. And now I look at it, I was like, whose child is this t-shirt
Oh my
belong
God.
to?
That was like a pajama t-shirt for a long time, but it's still in my t-shirt drawer. Like, I don't think I'll ever let go of that. Let go of that one. Okay. So that's heavy trauma. It's a Shannon thing. The second master's degree.
Oh yeah.
Where did the decision come from to get another master's on top of an already existing master's?
You know,
Was that a trauma thing too?
You know, probably because growing up, like a lot of people were just kind of like would make jokes like, you're not smart enough, you're not this, you'll never amount to anything. But not my family. My mom was the best. But you know, like I just never thought I would. And even getting my diploma, I was like, okay, well at least I finished this and I got my diploma. I didn't ever think I was going to get to my undergrad. I just didn't think I was smart enough. And you know, worked in corporate Toronto for a couple of years. I was like, I hate my life. And everyone's like, what did you want to do? I was like, I wanted to do this. Like, just try. So, you know, step by step did it. When I was applying to UFT, I knew that there was a chance I wasn't going to get it. Cause like, again, they only took maybe, I want to say there was like 5 to 7 of us advanced standing who like made the cut. But I was like looking at other programs just in case, just to see if there was just anything in a similar
field or
because with my undergrad being the BSW, then it would complement it. And I found this program at McMaster. It was Master of Science focusing on child life and pediatric psychosocial care. And I was like, well, that's interesting.
It's a mouthful.
Yeah, it is a mouthful. They told me they tried to make it smaller.
Can you say it again slower?
It's a Master's of Science.
Yeah.
It's a focus or specialization in child life and pediatric psychosocial care.
Child life and pediatric psychosocial care.
Yes.
Got it.
So at the time, there was only one stream, and it was for people who wanted to become child life specialists. Kind of similar to social work, but more
specialized.
Yeah. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
There's certain things that, social workers can't.
So what year was this that you started this master's?
This was summer of 2022.
Smack dab in the middle of COVID.
Just after.
Yeah.
Just after. So the program was always online anyways. Originally, I looked into it, but there's certain courses like children's child and youth courses that you needed in undergrad, and I couldn't find any universities that would let me just take the singular course. You had to be in the program. So I didn't end up applying. I didn't want to necessarily be a child life specialist per se, but UFT took me. So I was like, okay, whatever, it's done. Being in social work, being in any kind of designated field, there's always, you have to report to your college. You never stop learning. You got to report to your college, but you also want to learn. There's always new stuff that's coming about. So I was always looking online just to see, different certificate programs, workshops, whatever. And I came across, there's one more I do want to take. So it's a focus on clinical behavioral sciences, right? I should.
You could.
Yeah.
What was it? Sorry, what was the one you're looking at?
Clinical behavioral sciences. It lets you break down. It's just like a couple courses in different therapeutic modalities. So CBT, DBT, mindfulness.
Yeah, okay, that's beneficial to your therapy practice.
Exactly.
Which you don't get to do very much of with your patients.
Not really, but I would like to do some side hustles.
I was going to say, do you want to start your own practice, like your own private practice?
Maybe at some point I wouldn't mind starting with someone else just to see what that looks like. I would never do it full time because, that hoop pension always calls me every time I think about that. And they're like, if you stick it out, this is how much you'll get when you retire. So, but I wouldn't mind doing it on the side, especially because right now I'm trying to find a balance of how to apply my most recent master's. I don't know that I want to leave my job to go 100% full diving into children and families. So originally, when I saw it again online, it broke it up into 2 streams. The second stream was for working professionals. So you wouldn't get the designation as child life specialist, but it's something to also complement your resume. So I was like, oh, this is perfect. Because you had to be working in the field, and they only took 10 people. And so
10 people?
Yeah.
Holy crap. How many people apply?
I'm sure like, hundreds. But
Shannon.
yeah.
Okay.
So I was the only social worker in that stream. There was a physiotherapist, a radiation therapist, just
Cool.
people from all different. Yeah, there was
Love
doctors,
that.
psychiatrists. It was really, really interesting. And so originally I started to take it because at the time my partner was a teacher and he was going to go to the school board at the end of that year. Because after the pandemic, there was just all these opportunities for teachers to walk into positions. And then I also wanted to maybe make a shift to the school board at some point, because if you're going to have a family, like the schedules would have lined up and I could still be doing what I'm doing. But because I haven't worked with children in so many years, I thought that the specialization would help at least pop out and be like, okay, look, like working towards something. So that's why I started it. The stream worked. I could still work full time while taking the program part time. So I was doing it part time online and working in the hospital full time, coming off a pandemic, which was kind of challenging. And then with all the death, I was just like, why am I in this program? What am I doing?
That's what I'm asking myself. Like, how?
Yeah. So that's kind of.
But academia maybe is a comfort zone for you.
It did streamline my focus as much as the brain power. I didn't quite have it. Not that my grades weren't terrible. They were, most people would say they're pretty good. I could have done better. I could have done better. I should have had all A pluses, but it's fine.
Gosh,
no, my teachers would tell me that like, Shannon, no one's looking at your marks at the end of the day. No one's asking for your transcript when you're getting hired for a job.
I will tell you though, anytime I've been hired at a college for teaching, they do ask for your transcripts, but I failed stats. I didn't fail. I got a D. I still got a job. Like they didn't care. Everything else was good, but I had a D on my transcript. So they're not looking at your transcript and saying, when you did this thing, you only got a B minus, like you're incapable of doing this. No, I don't think that's how it works.
Exactly. So that's kind of how I stumbled across that. And it did work. Like I did apply for a part-time position at Sick Kids, and nothing on my resume. Most of the stuff on my resume is probably more so screaming geriatrics versus pediatrics. But because I was in the process, I wasn't done the program, and it was probably a silly time to even apply, but I was just like, I need more money. I need to like keep working. I need to do something on my weekends every other weekend. And so I applied, and I guess it kind of flagged it. And so I at least had the opportunity to go through the interview process. So that's kind of what I was hoping with that. But then I was thinking maybe further down the line, I'm actually starting to look into it right now, that I maybe start doing a side private practice, not so much for myself, but I've had some people reach out after I graduated that I used to go to school with, who have their own private practices. It's just like, hey, I just saw that you upgraded again. So like, what are your thoughts on maybe collabing, and do you want to come give this a shot? I was like, well, that's good to keep my resume fresh. Plus it'll give me the experience that I'm looking for, but not to just dive into it full time. Cause I like where I'm at. I like what I'm doing. I don't know that I'm ready to make a 100% shift to a completely different demographic.
Would you say that, because you've worked in healthcare for a very long time now, would you say that most healthcare workers that you work with and people that you know in healthcare, everybody has a side hustle of some kind?
Not where I'm at, but I remember one of my placement supervisors did do that on the side, just to have something of their own.
Or even just to have like, because you mentioned about applying for a job at part-time at Sick Kids and working on every other weekend. Like I know a lot of healthcare workers that are doing their full-time, whatever. And then on the side they're teaching, or on the side they're working a weekend gig, or they, it just seems like it's ingrained in healthcare workers to be workaholics.
Yeah, it's bad. Like my practice lead said, first thing she said when I started working there was like, you need to take your lunch breaks.
Yeah.
Leave your office.
Pee in the day. Like go to the bathroom.
We just had a social work meeting where they were talking about like more stuff that we could do and like piling on our plate. And one of the social workers was like, I don't even have time to urinate.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I can't even
they're not wrong. I will literally say, I'm going to go to the bathroom. And then somehow it'll be 3:30. I'm like, my stomach hurts. It's like, did you go to the bathroom this morning? I'm like, I didn't.
Yeah.
That whole time. I'm like, what was I doing? Work. I totally forgot. I got sidetracked by something.
I cannot tell you how many 12-hour shifts have passed where I did not pee one time.
Yeah. But I felt the feeling. I was like, oh, I remember. I was supposed to go at 9:30 this morning.
I had to pee at 9 o'clock this morning, and it's now I'm walking out the door at 7:30 at night. Like it's so unusual how we are.
It's wild.
And it's no wonder that so many people are off on stress leaves and mental health leaves and all kinds of leaves related to burnout and whatever related to our jobs, because we are taking care of other people, but it's so hard for us to be able to take care of ourselves when we can't.
it's hard. And like, let's be real. The establishments, the institutions don't really give you a lot of leeway. They'll say like, oh, take your time. But like at the end of the day, the fine print is just, okay, like we need bodies in the building.
It's not human resources. This is my favorite thing I say. It's not human resources. It's organizational best interest department.
Yes. And so you're kind of like, I'm not well, but yeah, I can try and come in, and then you're not great. And then it's this circular thing.
Yeah,
so
the circle of life.
I remember there was a couple years there where we were never fully staffed, that they had to split my job in half. So part of it could be coverage. And, I was like, we're not fully staffed because people aren't taking the time they actually need.
Yeah.
If they could just take that time, they'd come back better.
Yeah.
Fine.
They say, don't come in when you're sick. But then when you call in sick, you're like,
yeah. Amongst like the heat of the pandemic, I remember I finally got the vid, and then I came back and I was not well. And everyone's like, I don't think you're...
Did you rush back? Because you were like, I gotta get back.
They said you have to come back after this period, like this time frame. And I did. And like I had pneumonia. And then I think, I think I have a pneumonia. And at the time it was so backed up that obviously I wasn't going to go sit in the ER for like 24 hours. The walk-in clinics were backed up by 3 weeks. Obviously you couldn't even get to my family doctor. And then, so for like 3 weeks I sat there and struggled. I think I had the long COVID too. Like everything was just a fog. Nothing made sense. And, I don't even know if this was after Rob had passed, but, I just remember them being like, we're kind of short though. Like, can you just do your work in your office? I'm like, but I'm pretty sure I have pneumonia. And then by the time I got to my doctor, they're like, you have pneumonia. And I'm just like, yeah, I know. But like, I need that doctor's note to get out of work. And I've been waiting for you guys for 3 weeks. Like, okay, but you shouldn't be here. I'm like, at this point, it's starting to clear. I think I'm a little bit better, but you know what I mean? It's just kind of like one of those things where it's like, okay, but then... Because then it falls on the other social workers. And at some point, the social workers who have to take some time off come back. But then the other people who are like hanging on by a thread, they crash. And it's nobody's fault. It's just kind of like, it's just a circular,
the circle of life
in a lot of different places.
Healthcare worker. Yeah. It's really unfortunate. I mean, I could talk about the flaming dumpster fire that is the healthcare system forever. But one thing that you alluded to that I want to go back to is you mentioned that your mom was a foster mom. Mm-hmm. So did you live in a foster home?
Yes, I did.
You did?
I'm a foster kid.
I was in foster care too.
I know, because it's a Shannon thing, Shannon.
Shit.
Why have you picked up on this?
That's what we're calling this episode. It's a Shannon thing. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So tell me about that experience. Like, did you have how many foster kids at a time? Long-term foster kids? Like, what was that like growing up in a foster home?
Interesting. I mean, kids are funny. Like, I don't remember. It was just like normal. So I was a foster.
Because it was normal to you. Yeah.
It's normal to me. And, my two besties, you met one of them, Em, growing up, it was just kind of like, yep, that's Shannon's house, chaos. That's probably the intro to chaos and just figuring it out. But yeah, I was a foster kid, and then I was put up for adoption. But at that point I'd already been in my mom's foster care with her specifically for like 4 years. And, tell me the 80s without telling me it's the 80s.
Tell you the 80s,
she's like, you're put up with someone else, and she was just a foster parent. That was it, a single parent. She was older, in her mid to late 40s, and she's like, gee whiz, I wish Shannon could stay here with me. And my social worker's like, so why don't you just ask? She's like, because I'm a single parent on a foster parent income. Like, come on now, it's not going to happen. And so the courts were just like, well, Shannon, what do you want if you had 3 wishes? And I just kept saying her name. I was like, yeah, I want to go there. And so they're like, okay, let's not separate her. You're adopted. It would never happen. Would never happen right now.
No.
And so throughout that time, my mom continued to foster. Sometimes, there usually was like siblings, even though there'd be times where she's like, maybe just one. They would just throw up a pair of siblings. One time there was 6 kids, and my mom couldn't bear to separate anyone. So she's like, okay, we'll make it work. You know what I mean?
6 kids.
Yeah. I remember there was 6 boys who came in the middle of the night one time. They came in the middle of the night with like nothing. They didn't have socks, just like their underwears and whatnot.
Gosh.
And so we had to go to Walmart the next day and like get them clothes. And I'm like, wow, where are all these kids going to live? Because like our house at the time wasn't that big. We'll make it work. So,
well, it sounds like whatever situation they were in before, no matter what, the situation they're in now is better.
Yeah. Ugh. And so, and then there was a time where sometimes there'd be like, if there's one kid, I remember at one point we had like 4 Christophers. I'm like, are they just sending us Christophers?
Are we the Christophers now?
Yeah. And they all had different types. So this is kind of where the introduction, I don't want to say to social work, but just understanding certain things. One of many of the foster kids had, fetal alcoholic syndrome. They might've been a bit on the spectrum. And this was back in a time where people didn't really know about this stuff. They didn't really know, like it came off as just behaviors, we'll say. And so I had a kid who came in who couldn't talk, super skinny. You could see the veins in his head. All he could say was dada dada. He was 4.
Oh.
Had to wear a diaper, throw his feces, around. It was like a whole thing. And as a kid, sometimes I found myself getting annoyed and jealous that there's always other kids. Like I felt like I never had
your mom's attention.
any type of attention. But at the same time, is like, these were my kids too. So like, if we're like, no, you can't do that. Like, or, you try to discipline in such a way, he'd start banging his head against the wall until his head would bleed. I'd be like, no. And I would like hold his head. I'd just like, no.
How old were you when you were doing this?
Like 7. And so I'd sit there and I'd talk to him and I'm just like, no, this is why. And like, we taught him how to talk, got him on the Pediasure, try to plump him up a bit. The whole neighborhood.
7 years old, developing care plans.
Yeah. The whole neighborhood knew him. Like everyone loved it. He was the sweetest kid. Like, you know what I mean? But like he was talking and I remember eventually by the time he was 7, he got adopted and he came and visited us a couple times and just his language articulation, I was just like, it's like my little bro.
Helped build his foundational skills.
And I was telling someone about this, again, how children were kind of mislabeled or diagnosed back then. I had sometimes we were fortunate enough to have brothers and sisters, well, fortunate but unfortunate for the kids, who'd either come back or they would be with us for long periods of time. So I still talk to some of them. And I remember one of the girls, I ran into her years ago at the X, and she pulled her husband and kids aside. She's like, this is Shannon. She's like, this is the one who taught me everything. I owe her everything. I was like, stop it. But I remember that she was behind. She had a developmental delay. But she was also behind just given, the home life wasn't the greatest. Not by any fault of her parent, but it just... obviously there wasn't that extra time to sit with her. And so back then, this will blow your mind. So now we have like different classes,
My
right?
mind's already blown.
Right? We'll have different classes that kind of tailor to the needs or like special plans for kids that tailor to their needs.
You had classes in your home?
No. I'm saying now they have those. Now they have those. Back then, they put this person in a grade 5 class for their, math and English because they're in grade 8, but the level that they're at in grade 5. So they physically put this person in that class. And then that person would say like, they make fun of me obviously, cause I'm like this giant like preteen. But then they started like making her go into the gym classes too. I was like, okay, gym, like, come on, that can be. So I said, can I go, and again, love the 90s. Can I go shadow what your day looks like? And we would sit there and we would break down the homework every night. I'd sit there and I wasn't the greatest at math, but I could do like the grade 5 math as a grade 7er. So we would sit there and we would try to break it down. We try to like make plans that made sense to her and just, tackle one topic at a time. But when I went to the school, I was like, why is she in this class? Like, let's get her up to where she needs to be. And I kind of went back and kind of submitted my quote unquote report to the teacher saying like, this is what I work on with her at home. Like, is there a way that we can push her up to even get closer? Like maybe not physically put her in grade 5, but like you guys have that room for the other kids, the other older kids to just sit there almost like a spare, how we would have in high school, but in elementary school. And long story short, we worked together and she was only a year behind by the time that she was done. We got her up from grade 5 to grade 7 by the time she graduated grade 8.
Oh my God. That's incredible.
And I was in grade 7 when we did that.
So tell me your thoughts then on the emerging generation. Like Gen Alpha is showing signs of not even being able to hold a pencil properly. And like just core foundational skills, writing cursive is not part of the curriculum, but there's something to be said about the brain development that goes into like
the motor skills
and stuff. So in the program that you took, did you learn about sort of this new generation? Did this come up in any of the theory and stuff that you were covering? Child development in this like weird post-pandemic
not necessarily world? To that, because I remember, I feel like I just heard about this recently. Yeah. And how not even doing cursive or not having to write things out anymore is really impacted.
They can't hold pencils. Like it hurts their hands to hold the pencil or write for any length of time holding.
We did have certain courses, like kind of like child development courses that did talk about the importance of building these motor skills, no matter how, because I think one of the examples were in kindergarten, we'll just say how the or even maybe not kindergarten, but how they're trying to reduce playtime in elementary school. And they're
recess,
saying
arts and crafts, like all of those
the argument was that no, like it helps with like the brain, it helps with the motor skills, it helps with the social, like there's a lot of things that come with these things that they're like, no, we got to reduce and we got to put in more time for school. Like they don't have the capacity for that. So this was like kind of, it's making me think that this was an example of what that looks
somebody
like.
I was talking to this week was telling me that her kid's in grade 10 and he even like complains about holding a pencil and like how long he can, and doesn't even know or didn't know up until recently how to sign his name, like his signature, could only write his initials when he was signing things.
Yeah.
Like, so education, I think I shared with you that non-traditional education system in Texas that, did I send a reel to you about this woman who's down in Texas doing like a different way of educating kids where it's really leaning into obviously the core foundational curriculum that they have to learn, but they're learning it through AI, and then they spend time on like business development and they pursue their like creative interests. Have you heard of this? It's like a non-traditional schooling system, private.
Interesting.
So fascinated by it. So fascinated by it. And much like you, my resume is riddled with gerontology, like old people. But in the last few years, I've become so fascinated with the younger generation because I firmly believe that Gen Z is going to change the way we do everything. Like they're already doing it. It's like the workforce is going to be flipped on its head. But then what's Gen Alpha going to do? Like, it's a very weird time to be alive for a young person, I think.
I really don't like that. It scares me. I'm just kind of like, ugh.
And neither of us have children. Like neither of us have our own children. So we look in on our friends having kids and it's wild. It's wild what child development and the experiences that younger people are going to go through. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. Terrifying.
Yeah.
Terrifying. But I will say, I saw recently that, talking about AI, one of the top jobs that will not be able to be replaced by AI. What do you think it is?
Don't say my job.
Social work.
Get real.
Serious.
Because you know what? I heard in one of my courses that they were looking like, even with, I don't want to say doctors specifically, but medical interventions, they were looking for AI.
Yeah.
And we were trying to argue like, no, like there's things that
social work is on the list of top 10 professions that will never go anywhere.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm safe?
You're safe.
I don't see
because
how.
People are always going to need to be able to be connected to resources. Like there's only going to be a certain threshold where technology can only do so much for you. Mm-hmm. Or if you're not up to speed with technology as it advances so quickly, there's going to be generations of people that won't be able to keep up with technology. So who puts the pieces together for people? The social workers.
Coordinators of chaos.
Coordinators of chaos.
That's what it is.
Lesson here is go be a social worker, I guess.
Yes.
If you want to deal with the controlled chaos of whatever the day-to-day is in your world, right?
I mean, we're just trying to make the world a better place. Someone's got to do it.
Somebody's got to do it. Yeah, exactly.
But I'll tell you the good thing about social workers. I always
there's so many things.
Yeah, I call us social warriors or social advocates. But it's just kind of like, even when it breaks down, like there's a lot of things patients complain about, families complain about, like this is trash, or there's not enough resources for this, or why are the hospital stays like this? I was like, you're not wrong. I tell them all the time, like, you're not wrong. Same. I'm like, I'm not gonna sit there and be like, no, everything's great. It's not great.
Straightforward
too. It's not great. I'm like, go write a letter to your government. But like, when I see these things as frontliners, when we see these things, social workers still also have the abilities to shift on. It's such a broad spectrum, right? So whether it be medical, whether it be, you know, with children, whether it be with geriatrics, we can also slide into policies. Yeah. So I'm taking the information that I see right now, and there's a lot of different things where I'm like, okay, I don't like this, or this should be like this, or this program should shift like that. I'm taking that because I might not be clinical forever.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of like, you know, society does not.
I hope you get out of the trenches.
I will. I just want to, you know, I want to get my experiences in Milken.
You're so capable. Like, you're just so capable.
Thank you,
Anyway,
thank you.
I always see potential in people, and I'm like, why are you doing what you're doing? You could be doing so much
It's
more.
true. It's true. I just wanted to get those. I wanted to get my master's worth of experience in clinical because I was on the prize for that one.
Yeah,
but like maybe policies one day. One of my school friends, they did exactly that. They were in the children and family stream. They worked for the school board for years after graduating, and just too many gaps, too many areas that were like, hey, we could fix it if it went like this. What you're saying, because at the end of the day, whoever's making the rules, they're structuring a way where they get to check off the boxes. It's all Band-Aid solutions. They're just checking off boxes, but it doesn't make sense when you try to put it into practice.
No, that's like lean methodology being originated in a car factory, like in a Toyota car plant. And then they ran with lean in healthcare, applying lean methodology to humans. And it's like, humans are not black and white car parts. No. Like, humans have every color of gray that you can imagine. We can't be applying these same systems to human experience. Like,
yeah, exactly. 10,000%. And so she went, and Ryerson had this new PhD program where it was like some sort of policy studies.
Sweet.
So she's like, I'm going back, I'm getting my PhD, and I need to go fix some things. And I was like, girl, that's what I want to do too. I'm just making my mental checklist of everything. Like, even the programs that they're rolling out these days, like, this is going to fix things. It's like the people with the suits are making these calls, but then when they present it to the social workers sit there and say, this isn't going to work for this. The gap is here, here, and here, right? Like, is there anyone frontline sitting in on these meetings to say, this is what could actually make this work better? It's not a perfect solution, but more efficiently. It's like, no one's there. Yeah. Okay, well, it's going to not do what you're hoping it's going to do. You're just checking off a box. Always.
Boxes!
Always.
Oh my God. Okay, our soapbox. Listen. So, on this show, as I've mentioned, we do a couple of segments. One of the segments is the talking point cards. So you'll see here that there are 3 themes: generation, support, and resilience.
Oh boy.
We don't like resilience.
I think I've been resilient enough.
We're sick of resilience around here.
Okay.
What do you think? Which theme do you like?
What's this middle one?
Generations or support?
Okay. Support.
Social workers? Yeah, I guess we have to. Okay, so. Oh, shoot.
We can do generations.
Generations?
Okay, let's try generations. Let's go outside the box.
Okay. So the themes are growing up, work and play, family life, big picture. That's it. Growing up, work and play, family life, big picture. Which one do you like?
Do I pick a point and then we just talk about it?
We're going to draw a card based off of the colored theme.
Okay. Give it to me one more time.
Okay. Growing up.
Yes.
Work and play.
Yes.
Family life or big picture.
Big picture.
I always go big picture too. So I will draw a red. I'll draw one for you. And I'll draw one for me. Do you want me to ask you first or do you want to ask me first?
I will ask you first. Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Oh no.
Okay, Shannon. How would you like your family to commemorate your life? I know. I'm sorry.
It wouldn't be my family, first of all. It would be my chosen family.
Yes.
So not my family. My chosen family.
That's very important. I just want to mark that. Chosen family.
Well, first of all, let this go on record. I'd like to be cremated.
Okay.
But to commemorate my life, I don't know. I guess one thing that I love that I've kind of got a little bit of a collection of is like hours and hours and hours of footage. And I've loved like going back and collecting all of my old pictures from when I was little. Like you were foster kid, Do you have a lot of pictures of you from when you were little before you were in your foster home?
I have no baby pictures.
0 baby pictures.
No.
I feel so lucky that I have some. Like not a huge collection, but I have some baby pictures, which I'm sad for you that you don't have any baby pictures. So I don't know. When my life comes to an end, as all of our lives will, I would love it if somebody could like put all of the pictures of me and like video footage of me and stuff together into some kind of video montage, or like heaven forbid I ever get to a point where I can actually organize all the video files. But like, don't just get rid of all the video. Like I'm so fascinated with like capturing life on video. We started doing it in the 90s with
I was going to say the camcorders. My friends and I used to do it all the time.
What I would do for the footage from those days. Like, I don't know where it is. Like, it's, you know, where it is. But
Yeah.
I'm just so fascinated by that kind of thing. So I don't want anything fancy, like no big funeral or anything, but just, yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Noted.
Yeah. Keep that in
Public
mind,
record
all
here.
of you,
Yep.
all of you Shannons in my life, and you know. Okay, your question. Oh, why did we both get these types of questions?
Man. Deep.
I mean, anyways.
Okay.
Do you have any possessions that you want to give to certain people when you die?
I suppose.
Like, sometimes I look around at all of my shit and I'm like, where's this all gonna go?
I mean, I don't have a lot. I had to downsize a lot when my mom went because her nut job son was going to throw everything out. So probably, you know, simple stuff, clothes to my nieces, my movie collection, which I still hold on to dear.
DVDs?
DVDs. I did have some VHS, but I don't know if certain people threw them out, or if they just sold them for their own, you know, game. But
I have some VHS. I have Disney VHS.
Mine too. That's what I'm saying. I'm pretty sure they sold them, but like whatever.
I don't
like
VHR. What's it called?
VHS.
VCR.
Oh, you're right. VCR.
VCR. Jesus.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like just small. I think. Yeah. The other thing is just my phone collection. Maybe to some people. Like I don't know if there's anyone really left who appreciates that. So
what do you have?
Like just like my movies, like my film collection. I don't really have anything of my mom's. I think. I did take some stuff from my mom's china cabinet that I still have like stored because I don't have a great place for it. So I'm afraid it's going to get broken. I feel like a couple of my friends are kind of sentimental like that. So there's a couple things where, the rest of it's kind of like, as long as it's my immediate friend circle, like your chosen family, my two besties. You know, they're going to be my POAs.
Right? Oh my God,
and then their daughters,
the other day,
their daughters are going to be the next in line, like their bloodlines. But as long as, they have kind of possession over that, I don't really have. I don't really have anyone else to. Morbid.
I thought that was crazy when they sat down with my financial advisor and she was like, "So who do you want to leave stuff to?" And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't freaking know.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Ugh. All right. Awesome. Well, that's talking points. So next segment that we do is the olive and the pit.
Okay.
So we just ended a month. We're in a new month now. Mm-hmm. So looking back on last month.
Oh boy.
Identify what your olive was, which is like the best thing that's ever happened to you in your life in the month. And then the pit is like, the pit's like crap that happened. It doesn't have to be like deeply profound and just keep it easy breezy. Your olive in your pit.
My olive. I don't think I have an olive.
You had nothing good happen to you?
No.
No, come on.
I'm trying to even like extend the month to like maybe 2 or 3 months. I'm like, I mean, we can extend back to 6 months where I say I got my graduation piece of paper back in November.
You're thinking too big.
But this is the big picture.
That's true.
No, the last one.
This is the olive in the pit. We've moved on.
Okay, fine, fair.
Like, your jacket. That's an olive.
Stop it.
Oh my God.
The jacket has not been released yet.
It won't be. This episode isn't coming out until after the game. Your jacket will be
fun, a little alumni jacket.
Yeah. Oh my God. You put so much work into this project and it's stunning.
Thank you. And got it together in
you showed me
hours.
She showed me pictures of this thing and it
was just like an idea.
Talk about that part of your life. You were a Raptors dancer and the Argos.
Yeah.
Continue.
In a nutshell, former dancer, what most former dancers do when they get a little older.
With this? Jesus.
What they do when they get older is like, you join sports teams or you do videos or you do whatever. And so I did the Argos.
So before you did your BSW, this is way before you and I met.
Yes. Like a couple years. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I did the Argos because my oldest brother, who had passed, was a huge fan. We used to go like religiously since I was 5. And I went online to look for tickets for him, and I saw there was an audition for cheerleaders, and I was kind of like, why didn't I ever think about this before? I was like, I don't know. Maybe I'll just go try. I hadn't danced in like 6 years. So I was like, yeah, let's just go see what happens. And then I got that. And then the following year, I went to the Raptors, and they had more games. It was kind of like a part-time job. So while I was in college doing my social service work diploma, I was doing the Raptors. And then
you were dancing at all the Raptors games.
Yeah.
And getting paid for that.
Yeah. And then I took some time off.
How much did you get paid for that?
I mean, back then, I think we'll just average it out to maybe like 100 a game. And then, you got paid for promos, and then you got paid for practices.
Cool.
Yeah. So it was a part-time job. So while I was in school, it just worked because the hours worked perfectly. And then I took a couple of years off because obviously I was working, stuck in corporate. And then I did my victory lap with Argos for their 100th, their Grey Cup 100, because my mom she was a big fan too. So my mom and brother were like, you have to victory lap it. And Rob at the time was like, do it. I'm going to get seasons tickets if you do it. And I was like, Rob, I don't want to. And he's like, you can always quit, but you can never go back and try and get on the team.
I love that he said that
because,
to you.
well, the victory lap came in my 29th year. Okay. So I was just like, yo, let me tell you that audition. If anyone remembers, or if anyone has ever seen The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, when Aunt Viv, when she did that class, that dance class, it was like that.
Oh my!
So I went in, and because I did some promo work for them the year before, they're trying to reestablish their promo team. The coach was like, "Can you come in? Like, it will work with your work schedule because you don't need to go to practices, whatever." So I did that for the year, and so the next year she's like, "Well, don't you just want to dance for your very last year? It's like the 100th, like
another person seeing something in you and encouraging you." I love that.
Yeah. So I was like, I don't know, Jor. I'm like, I don't know if I should do it. And it was the morning of the audition. It was like 9 a.m. The audition started at 9 a.m. Luckily, the audition was at the Rogers Center, so it wasn't far from where I was living. And Rob was like, just go do it. Just go do it.
Yes.
And I was like, I don't want to. He's like, just run. So I was like, okay, I'll just run there. Hadn't danced in many moons. Very much out of shape. And, you had to wear a half top and shorts. It's like, oh man. I was like, hopefully they'll give us the palms and then I can just, fake it until I make it. But I remember walking in there and all the girls were like, lovely girls. Cause like I had worked with them the year before, but they're like, they knew I was older. And like, I'm like, oh yeah, I finished dancing like 6 years ago. I'm good. And they saw me, they're like, oh, what are you doing here? I'm like, I'm here to audition. They're like, oh, that's so cute. Yeah. And so, but one of the guys, Brian, who had worked there since my first year, like years and years before. And he's just like, I'm so happy you're back. He's like, Shannon, do they know? And I was like, what? And he's like, they don't know yet, do they? I was like, I don't know, but I'm going to try and show them. And then the music came on. I busted it. I like looked at the group. They're all like, what where did that come from? I was like, awesome. I walked out of the room on the ground, almost throwing up. I was like, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. It was total infant moment.
You just mustered it up from the pit of your gut.
Yeah, I did it. And I was like, I don't think I could do this, but yeah, then I did it. And I did the Grey Cup 100 that year. And it was like, we made it. We weren't going to make it. Like we all thought like we were out, and then the semifinals came and we made it. My mom had passed 2 weeks before. Oh. And so I didn't want to, I was like, I don't know if I can do this. My coach was like, I'm holding your spot. So like, I will do choreography around you. Just if you can, try and come back. And I was like, you know what? Like she would want this so bad. My brother's like, mom would want this so bad. So just do it. And then we ended up getting to the Grey Cup, and then we ended up winning the Grey Cup. So
oh my God.
Super cute, super fun.
Super cute, super fun. Yeah. And just so everybody knows, like she can dance. Like it's not just like it's like it's dancing. Like,
I'll upload my next little dance spiel, and then you can shoot a clip of that when you air this.
Insert a clip here. Insert a clip. Watching on video. Like Shannon can dance.
I can move.
Like a group of girls. We had a girls' night last month, and a couple of them are dancers, and they were like, come on and learn this. And I'm like, I can't. So like, I have 6 left feet.
No, like, you can learn
it. Nothing about me can be like.
It's a Shannon thing, so you can dance, okay?
Well, okay. You'll have to teach me.
I'll teach you. And we'll shoot a clip into there. But
I would love that very much.
That's how I got there.
Okay, so your olive was this jacket, and
we're going to cool. A little bit of an alumni game, and merch is like, you have a vision for something, and I was just kind of like, I don't want to pay this much money. Like it's okay, but not for what you're paying. I'm like, I bet I could probably find the resources.
For one day,
I'm like, I bet I could find like the pieces. And so I just found like some random pieces, didn't know how it was going to work, met up with my friend, like cut apart all these things and kind of like put something together. And I was like, And I think I showed you the picture of like
It's
similar
sick.
varsity
It's
type
so
jackets. And I was like,
cool.
I think this could be just as good.
I'm like, you could start an Etsy shop and sell these. People would want you to make like personal. Have you ever seen people that like
I was going to say, yes. I saw two different girls' accounts where, they'll find old
I am
sports merchandise, whether it be football, basketball, whatever. And then they make like
they turn it into a new
dresses,
cool thing.
sweater. Yeah. No, I love that.
I love that. I have a sewing machine. I used to
teach me how to sew, and we can come up with some creations.
I would love that. I literally used to sew in high school. Like I have a sewing machine, like a Singer friggin' sewing machine. Anyways,
I tried to sew yesterday. I guess okay. We'll say that
big
is
time.
Yeah, I don't
big
know.
time Olive.
We'll see.
I love that is a side of you. Like Shannon is educated and professional and a clinical social worker and cares about humanity and children and has this incredible story and has been through all these things. And she's a freaking dancer for the Toronto Raptors and like the biggest friggin' football team and like I guess the football team for Toronto. Like that's
the oldest football team ever. Even with the NFL, it's the oldest football team like in North America.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That is so freaking
They just
cool
had their 150th anniversary last year that we got to participate in.
That's a part of your life. I love that. I love that for you. I love that for history.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's very, very cool. Okay. So that was your Olive. Any pits? Anything that like, because if nothing good happened, then a shit ton of bad things must have happened. So what was like the pits?
I mean, I'm thinking the universe is trying to give me a break for 2 minutes.
Good. Okay. Okay. So
this is what I'm hoping. I don't think there was like anything in particular. I think it's just kind of like working too much and there's just not enough. Like you can say no, but you can't. It's your conscience won't let you.
Yeah.
So there's just like, there was added responsibilities to my job where I'm kind of like, okay, how do we find time? How do we find space? Cause I still want to do kind of piggybacking off of, making the jacket. Like there's still like side things. And I don't know if it stems from dancing. Like I've always had like a creative side too, where I'm like, I want to do like my own thing, whether it be like recording stuff, like dancing, making outfits. Like,
have you gone viral on TikTok?
No.
With dances?
No. And like my friends are always just like my friend Talisa, she's just like, you just do these things sometimes where it seems silly to you, but then when you piece it together, she's like, people like it. It's funny.
So cool.
Like you just do this random stuff and it just goes on the spot. So sometimes I'm just kind of like, yeah, I could do that. But then that also takes work too, that my full-time job, sometimes I feel leaks into my personal. Cause I'm like, there is extra like things I would love to do on the side just to,
I've seen a nurse who literally goes into an empty hallway and like records themselves doing a dance in a hallway and gets like thousands of views.
Well, you know what I saw today? I saw that screenshot of your stand. I was like, oh yeah, I remember I was going to buy one of those.
Yeah.
Just so I can. Cause there's sometimes when I'm like, a thought will pop in my mind when I walk into my office.
Tripods.
Yeah. And I'm like, I should just do that right now.
One of the best purchases ever.
I know I'm going to purchase one today.
Seriously.
But yeah, no, I definitely would like, I think, the pit would be just not taking that extra time. Like I have the time now that I'm not in school anymore. And I'm like, I want to do all these things. And I just still have not found the time to do that.
Yeah.
So.
And you need to prioritize, like there is always time.
There is.
There's always time. Like, it's hard. Mm-hmm. It's very hard. My mentality when I stopped working so much was like, I felt like I was wasting my time if I wasn't making money.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I got stuck in this loop of like, everything that I do must be a paid thing that I'm doing. And I was not doing anything creative at all because my career had literally consumed everything within me. And then it wasn't until I started to realize I was so miserable in that cycle of just doing things for other people and working for the system and forgetting about my interests. And I didn't even know what my interests were.
Side note, social workers will never practice what they preach. We'll talk about self-care till like we're blue in the face. Yeah. We do not do that. It's the worst. Biggest hypocrites. We are the biggest hypocrites.
You could say you have like a hobby or something, like dancing, I would say is a hobby for you.
I rarely do it though. Like even yesterday I was supposed to do it with my friend and then we got sidetracked by our little venture.
Craft
but
project.
Like either way,
craft project is fun,
either way, we always say we're going to do it every couple months.
And then you never.
And I say to her, because somehow we always do it when it's the coldest day in the world. I was like, this means that we literally do it once a year because we've never done it in warm weather. And we told each other we'd do it every 3 or 4 months just to get together and do some fun things. We don't do it.
People need to make a promise to themselves that they do not forget that our brains are designed to be creative. And when we get into these cycles of doing the same shit day in and day out, same conversations, same places, same people, same bullshit. Like our brains are not meant to do that. Like our brains are so powerful, and it's like a muscle. The more you exercise that creative part of you, the more creativity flows. And it's like when you stifle that, you're doing a disservice to yourself.
Not just a disservice, but also because we work with more geriatric populations. The lack of stimulation, detrimental.
We don't even know how that's going to impact people with Alzheimer's and
I saw what it did to people during the pandemic.
Oh my God.
And there was patients who would come and the families would all of a sudden say, oh my gosh, like they're not themselves, they're depressed, they're demented, they're this or that. I'm like, well, were they, like, when did this happen? Like, you don't get dementia overnight, you know, you don't get Alzheimer's overnight. Like, when did you see this? And when the pandemic happened, all those seniors who were isolated because they couldn't go out, or they couldn't, you know, they'd have their card games or their socials, or just to go out to the grocery store, it turned, like, they went downhill
so
cognitively so fast.
Yeah.
And so
rapid decline.
I would, in hospital, it's actually funny because the social workers were fighting for the recreational therapists to get more, like, we need more.
Yeah.
And they were trying to make a case as to why. And I'm like, I'll tell you right now, like, there's a lot of patients where I'm like, you're getting referred to rec. And everyone's like, oh, just so that they can go play bingo. I'm like, no, you don't understand. You don't understand. And let's just say, like, throughout their program, like throughout the duration of the hospital, they went from like this flat affect looking out the window to actually having conversations again, saying, you know what, I'm actually going to initiate. I want to go for a walk, a little lap around the
to that thing that's happening at 1 o'clock.
And then we would try in the community at that time, they did have some like online stuff. So we tried to find funding for like iPad, show them how to use it, or have a PSW help them, but like, so that they could continue that until the world went back to normal and they could see people face to face. But the families were just like, I see a difference.
Yeah.
With like the lack of stimulation, like people just start to fall a little bit flat. And that's something, again, from working in the field, where I'm like, oh man, we have to keep doing the things that like we're talking about, because if not, it's wild.
Yeah, it is wild what happens to your brain if you do not work it like a muscle. It's crazy. They'll say even some of the most brilliant minds, like a neurosurgeon, even though they are brilliant, if they only ever think about neurosurgery and they don't step outside of, maybe they go skiing, or maybe they like art, or maybe they play an instrument, or maybe they like, if all a person does is only fixate on one specific thing, your brain almost like, parts of your brain almost atrophy, I think. And that's what causes cognitive decline. And I don't even think we know what it's going to do to the generations that are consumed by
It'd be an
technology.
interesting research project.
When you do your PhD.
Oh man.
I love teaching higher education, but I am not a student. I'm not an academic. I struggle to learn in traditional academic settings.
Me too.
I struggle deeply.
I had a very late diagnosis of ADHD when I was 19 for like a hot minute. And then I remember my friends like, what did the doctor say? I'm like, I don't remember. But like at that point, they're like, well, you're almost an adult, so just shoo.
Yeah.
So there's that.
I was diagnosed at 35. Wild.
Yeah.
Wild.
It makes a lot of things make sense. And the way we've navigated around it just to make things work just like everybody else.
Shit that I've done my whole life that like wasn't picked up when I was a child because I didn't have a consistent, stable parent that was capable of understanding like a child that's been through an incredible amount of trauma, how brain development and how things can present. Like the people who were raising me didn't understand any of that. Not only that, but they weren't testing girls in the 80s and 90s for these types of hyperactive ADD, but then they turned it into ADHD, whatever.
Which is so funny because I found some old report cards that all said the same thing. Can't sit in her seat, always taking washroom breaks. I had like 30 absences per month because I just couldn't go into class. Like I was just like, what the? Like it's all there, handwritten by the teacher. Just like, she's good. We'll just, keep pushing her through.
There were so many signs.
Yeah.
There were so many that nobody ever picked up. And it wasn't until I like literally burnt out and lost my fucking mind. And like,
I was self-diagnosing things at age 14 back when we had encyclopedias. I was like, what are the symptoms? And I'd go into the encyclopedia, look at the symptoms, list out the symptoms, and then go to the doctor and be like, this is what I'm feeling. Do you think it could be this? I still do it to this day to the doctors because they don't have time to listen to anything. I'm like, here it is.
Yeah.
Here's my psychosocial assessment.
So
go.
Good. Yeah.
But, it's funny.
It is very funny. It is very, very funny how some brains develop. And it's because I believe you and I both had similar childhoods, you know, those early foundational years of your life. Yeah.
Well, it's like the resilience of making it work because no one else is going to make it work for you. And like back then you didn't want to be put like I felt like I can look at it now and say like, yeah, I was a little bit different. There's probably sparks of the tism in there too.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Ditto,
you know what I mean? Where I'm just kind of like, but like I had to mimic yeah, exactly. It's just a speck.
Just a little
speck, you know? But like I can see it now where the way I had to like mimic things just to be like everyone else and try to keep up with everyone else.
Yes.
And I had a friend
drown out certain parts of you because you weren't feeling like the same. And yeah.
And now as an adult, I'm finding like, and I'll tell people I have to like set these boundaries, and everyone's like, because people use boundaries and triggers so much, they're thinking I'm trying to be part of some sort of, I'm like, no, I have to, because the overstimulation is like really starting to get to me because I'm just at that point in my life where I'm like, I have to, you know, mute out some of the other stuff.
Oversharing too. Like I'm
Me too.
really bad for oversharing, really bad for interrupting, really bad. Like, yeah, there's things about me, and it's impacted my friendships. It's impacted my relationship, especially my relationship. Like, yeah, my relationship, I was in a long-term relationship. It ended. Being in a relationship with somebody who has a brain like mine, I'm not an easy person to be in a relationship with. Yeah, it's hard. It impacts so many aspects of my life. Mm-hmm. Very much.
No, I feel you. I'm there too. It's another Shannon thing. You know
another Shannon thing. Oh my God, how many is that? That's what it is. Now? It's like our whole rap sheet. It's just the same. Copy paste.
Right.
Olive in the Pit. I think that's what we were talking about. Are we still on?
Yeah. The pit was not taking time for myself.
Yeah. And okay, so my Olive in the Pit. I am trying to see what's happening in my life as a blessing, even though what's happening in my life is insane. On the other hand, I'm trying to see it as the universe giving me time to do things that I've not prioritized before. Yeah, I've talked enough about the shit that's going on in my life, but I'm just starting to really feel grateful for the time that I'm getting to spend building something out of nothing. It's interesting. I have a fear in the pit of my belly, but I also have like an excitement, and I don't know. I just have a lot of things that are happening behind the scenes that I've been working on, that I've been talking about, that I've, you know, been trying to will into existence since mid last year. Anyway.
Beautiful.
Time.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that is an
olive this month. And eventually the pit will be, there's no money. There's no money, and Shannon's going to start selling pictures of her feet on the internet. Like, I don't know what the other option will be. Like, I don't know. I'm going to figure it out. I always do. I'm going to figure it out.
You always do. You hustle and grind in your whole life.
Legit. Like. Seriously. Yeah. Seriously. So yeah, the olive is, I have time, and the pit is not much.
Not much, but I feel like, well, for me anyways, I work better under pressure. It'll have to be the last minute of the last day where I'm like, I can't get this done. I can whip out a 25-page paper
pressure
in like
cooker.
an hour. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's just so many things that I'm interested in. I'm just so fascinated by so many different things. I'm starting to be able to streamline my areas of interest and how I want to focus things, and how I'm going to like time block and, you know, do shit, because I've been so programmed to work within the system that now that I'm not working within the system as much, if at all, there's so many things that I could do, and I can do all of them, but I can't do all of them. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm trying to really identify what it is that means the most to me, what it is I'm most interested in, what it is I'm like curious about bringing into the world, identifying things that I feel are missing in the world and bringing that into the world.
That's a lot in itself.
Yeah.
That's good though.
So I don't know. I don't know what the future has in store, but definitely more podcast episodes.
Absolutely. I'm coming back.
Yeah, I hope that you will.
You'd have
honestly
like a side podcast. It's a Shannon thing.
We could have our own little side series, No More Shenanigans or something.
Love it.
Yeah, I love that very much. All right, everybody. Well, it's been a slice. I knew that it would be a very good experience with you.
Thank you.
This podcast means a great deal to me, and I enjoy having people on the podcast that mean a great deal to me because the conversation is just so genuine and it really comes from the heart. So anyway, this is the All of You podcast. I put on my t-shirt, by the way.
I'm jealous I didn't bring mine.
If you're watching on video, I am wearing the It's a Shannon Thing You Wouldn't Understand t-shirt. This is a relic. It's gonna have to get put in a memory box or something.
No, not until I wear mine with you.
Yeah,
okay?
we need to get a picture of us wearing them together. But anyway, this was the It's a Shannon Thing episode of the All of You podcast, and Shannon Needham was my guest. She's gonna like blow up on TikTok with her dances and anyways.
Fab over 40 over here.
Yeah, I love that. Fabulous over 40. So this was the All of You podcast. I'm supposed to tell you to like and subscribe and hit the bell notification and share and comment. All of these things help the algorithm and help us to continue to be able to put out episodes of TOYP. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time, guys. Bye for now.